Hey everyone, welcome back to Work Right with Rich, the show where we have honest, unfiltered conversation about what it really takes to make work work. I'm Richard Farmer, your host and Asian Managing Director at CXC Global. Now today we're talking about the office. For years it was the centre of everything, but once people got a taste of flexibility, they realised they could get the job done just as well at home or sometimes even better. So the big question is, what makes the office worth the trip? How do we turn it into a place people actually want to be, not somewhere they feel they have to be or they don't want to be, I suppose is the question. I've got someone with me today that knows better with most. She spent more than 14 years in commercial interior design and architecture. She studied design in Australia and built practice that blends Filipino roots with global design thinking. She's all about creating spaces that you actually want to work for people, but also spaces that people want to be in. So joining me is Charisse Gail Bantling. And trust me, she's seen a fair share of wild office requests. So we're going to have some fun with this. I got the privilege to meet Charisse in Manila, the fantastic part of the Philippines, and was actually sitting next to you at a Christmas event. And we got talking, and that was where I was inspired to have you on the show. And we also had a lot of fun that night. So welcome to the show. How are you?
Glad to be here. Hello again, Richard. Unfortunately, it's online, so it's still good to see you, though.
I know it's very good to see you too, and hopefully we'll see you again soon when I'm back in the Philippines. I missed you on my last
Yes.
trip, but we'll definitely do that. But let's get right into the questions. I'm sure most of the listeners want to know about your thoughts because to me, everyone's saying, in the US, people should go back to the office, but why should they go back to the office? What does it do there? Say so. When people say I'd rather work from home, what do you think they're really saying about the office?
Yeah, actually, that's a really, really good question. And every time I hear that, think it's not about them rejecting the office in itself, but it's more of them really saying, has it already earned their commute, especially here in Manila? I mean, you've seen and experienced the traffic here. And for the workforce here, it has to be more than just the desk. It has to provide the same convenience and experience as home while also being able to be productive. So to design offices that really bring that energy, there's collaboration, and most importantly, sense of belonging. That's why people still think it while they think it's better to work from home, these factors just can't be replicated on your couch.
Yeah, I think there's also a humanization part of it. When I first started many moons ago in the workplace, the office was a place where you build relationships, you learn from people, you could really like listen to what people were saying, right? So, but I think now people will actually want it to be a home away from home, or they want it to be, a better place. Um, I mean, so in your role, I'm sure you've worked through many crazy offices, right? Or you've worked through, really cool office setups. What's the craziest thing you've seen, or what's the thing you've had to talk a business out of? Like, from a ping pong table to a ball pit. What's the craziest thing you've seen?
Oh, I've seen a lot. In that 14 years, I've seen all of the business leaders' aspiration for their offices. But the fun idea I've encountered once was they wanted me to bring in an indoor slide. So there's a mezzanine, an indoor slide. Yes, there's a mezzanine, and that from that mezzanine would be their pantry. And when you slide from that, you go to the reception. You're back on the ground floor. So they wanted to incorporate that in. I guess the factor is because they're in a creative industry. They're in advertising. The owners are pretty young and very, very creative. So we've got that. I even have ideas of some of the crazy smart display technologies. Sometimes it's fun. Sometimes it might be something that they really need, like the ones that I mentioned earlier, the industry of advertising. It could probably be what they need because they're very creative, something cool, something fun, something vibrant. But oftentimes I feel like it's a little bit of a gimmick for them.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
where I come in really is to build that bridge between their aspirations and the practical design initiatives. So I always have to put it in the scene of, does this really actually support how your people work? Does it really help build the culture you want to shape in your organization? If it does, we explore it. If not, we might have to chuck it in the bin and maybe put all of our resources towards something that's more vital for your business's growth. But more often, I find myself really nudging the clients away from those novelties and really towards a space that actually matter for them day to day.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point because are these sleeping pods, is it just a gimmick, right? I've been in workplaces where they've had Xboxes, they've had like, ping pong tables.
Cool stuff, yeah.
Yeah, and basically it's great for the first day, then it gathers dust. And I suppose have you ever had any conversations with leaders of like how does the workspace actually affect outcome? Like, have they seen the return of investment by changing the workplace? Has it improved performance?
Yeah, I've encountered a lot of that. I think years ago, the way they approach workplaces is really more performative. It's function based. It's putting more seats in. But then recently, especially in Manila, there's a lot of changes in the way they approach spaces, thinking how can this better support the productivity of our workforce. So they have a lot of these cool ideas, aspirational concepts, but something about it that you really have to think deeply if it really aligns with your business, your vision, and also does it really align to the culture of where you wanna put these spaces in.
Yeah. And I think that's it. If you have it kind of it is aligned to your culture and you use the space as part of that to drive business or business outcomes or to bring that kind of to net togetherness. Because I know in
Yeah.
the Philippines, I think you mentioned to me before, it is about family. It's about bringing people together.
Yeah.
Yoga or being able to come together to have movie nights and all these kind of things
Correct.
and so forth.
It's funny because I had a project before in Cebu. So the directives came from America. And of course, we have all these playbooks that we have to follow as this is their business brand. And they wanted us to incorporate in a library. And if you factor in again how Filipinos, the personalities and the character of Filipinos, were not really big readers, quite frankly. So they really insist in putting this library in this space. And it's a huge space. It's 100 square meter next to the pantry because they wanna get this young ones to really go read a book, do heavy research and all that. And of course, when you put this kind of spaces, there's cost to it. It's 100 square meter. You put everything that you need to put in there to make it look like a library that they would use. 1 month in, they tried their best. 3 months, it didn't really work for them. So they had to get me back in to redesign the whole space again to better connect to their workforce. And guess what? They wanted something more vibrant where there's karaoke, there's more games, there's like spaces where they can have hangouts and breakout areas, something that's more fun and vibrant, closer to the character and personality of Filipino
Yeah.
workforce.
Fantastic. And on that point, and I suppose, what I've seen, what about the use of color? Like, is color important to the to workspace in terms of creating the mood, but also identifying it or creating the culture you want?
Yes, definitely. It plays a big factor. Say for us creatives, what I do in the production spaces, it has to be white. It really needs to be white. It needs to be clear. It needs to avoid this moods or biases when we do our work. So it has to be all clean and white. Whereas for some companies, like say if you're in food and beverage workforce, it has to have the reds and the yellows and the vibrant colors in it because red and yellow is associated with food. So colors also play a big role in the way we design the space.
So, and what's the color to avoid? What's the color we don't want? And
Red, frankly, you don't want red in a workplace.
no red. Okay,
No
that's
red.
good to know. And don't put it near pink. It never goes together. And I suppose if taking that to another step, if you look at one famous or one thing, if you were starting your office today and you're starting your business, and there was one kind of idea that's come from, say, a Google or some of these amazing office spaces around the world, which one would you take and say, yeah, I'd put that into my office space?
If we're thinking about something that's tangible, it's more of like greeneries for me. I'd say I want to push more greenery, especially with the kind of architecture we have here in the Philippines. There's not really much like access for people to have that daylight and closeness to nature, unlike in other countries, they've got wide glass windows, they've got plant area, they've got all these break spaces. So for me, if I want to push something, it's really more greenery in the workplace. Not really about those fun novelty items. I think we're done with that. We want to bring in something that's more, and after the pandemic, we want something that's more relaxing. And as we were saying before, they're thinking they wanted a space that's closely connected to them, feeling like they're home. So maybe that. And the closest to bridge all of that, I guess it's the greeneries, putting more greeneries in the workplace.
Yeah, I've heard that about myself. I think it was written during the pandemic, and they were saying having a plant in your office space, obviously from the oxygen perspective, but also it helps you concentrate and gives you
Yeah.
like calm feeling within the space.
Cleaner air. There's not that much science and research back that it could really support air quality, but it changes in terms of mental health. You see something green, it feels relaxing. So I think it's something that I would really push for spaces.
And something just springs to mind. We've got plenty of dog lovers in CXC and around the world. What about pets? What about like an office pet? Is that something that's come across?
Tell me about it. Even myself, if the building would allow it, I brought one time. I snuck in my dog one time to put him in a bag because we were at that point where we're really stressed out. We wanted a little bit of break, a little bit of fun, and having the pets around, it changes everything. Um, you just pat them, you see them, it just has that different effect on you. So if there's a way to bring that in a workplace that the building admins would allow, I will definitely 100% sure would want that.
There you go, leaders. If you can get an office pet, maybe a dog, if you can sneak it past security in Chris's bag, and you'll be fine. Maybe start with a rabbit or something. 'Cause I mean, they use it in schools, right? As having they always have like a class pet, and I always thought, why doesn't that go into the workplace, right? Where the top performer gets to take the rabbit home at the end of the week. Maybe we'll
Well,
see.
it's quite difficult here in the Philippines. So we've got a lot of like restrictions and compliances. We've got all this in place. It's not as progressive yet in the way we approach how building the culture of a workplace is, which is tied up to the constrictions of a building. So there's still a lot of work to do on that area, but definitely something that we could push in for the new workplaces.
Yeah. And for people that they're always asking me, like we're seeing that everyone's trying to get people back to the office and that, the email comes out, right? Everyone's got to be back to the office 3 days a week. What would your tip be to maybe incentivize people to come back to the office from a design perspective? Like, could they say come back because this is something new? Do they need to put something new in the office to pull people back? Like what's the conversations you've heard and feedback you've heard from people?
Interesting actually with some of friends and some of my clients. While there was a time when they know they have to adapt with remote working and hybrid working, much of their workforce here in the Philippines are actually wanting to go back in the office. However, factors in the traffic, it's really so bad. Much of your day is allocated to traveling to your office. The other thing is, we've already experienced the comforts of working from home and we know already it's possible. However, they came to a point where they lost that sense of belonging, which is the very heart of Filipinos working culture. So a lot of them were really wanting and eager to go back. But if we could redesign it in a way that it slightly feels like home, like they feel it's still relaxing, they get to choose however they want to work because we have to remember so we have different personalities and ways of working. Some people likes focus area, some likes collaborative, and being at their home they're able to move around according to what they need in their preferred spaces. So providing this kinds of choices for them, bringing in design, bringing in belonging through the lens of design, I think that's really important.
Yeah, I think they're very good tips. I think, there's a benefit from working from home. I think there's also, when you mentioned loyalty, what I've seen is that it's very easy to resign to a screen, right? But
Mm.
when you're actually surrounded by people, a lot of people stay at work because of the people they sit next to. And that, especially in the Philippines, that feeling of family, right? So family days, bringing people in, but also being able to bring your kids to work, right? See where you are,
Yeah,
see where you aspire to. Yeah.
agree.
which is good. And I suppose, like, looking ahead and looking at the future, um, what do you think the workspaces will look like by like 2030? Do you see that it's going to massively change, or will there even be an office, or will there be AI offices? What do you think there'll be? Looking in your magic ball, well, what would it be?
I actually think by 2030, we may not even call it an office anymore.
Right.
It
Okay.
could probably go on being called like hubs or studios or experience centers, places where you can choose to go because you get something that you cannot do at the comforts of your home. There's a slight difference from from working from home to working in the office. It also could potentially blend a lot of like hospitality factors in it. There's a lot of mix of industries in a certain space, a lot of focus on technology still, well-being, sustainability, less about the quantity and more about spaces where really people could thrive and connect while also respecting the way they do their work. So again, the giving them opportunities to choose depending on how they feel like the task at hand is needed. And I think that would be the very change. And we also have to think design in the workplace. You can provide a very beautiful space, but if it doesn't connect and it doesn't align to your business goal, it's just going to remain a space. So I think 2030, it's more than just bringing in desks and rows of it. It's really creating those spaces where they can have moments and memories.
Right. Fantastic. And I totally agree with what you're saying there. Like, I love the fact of an experience center or a hub rather than calling it an office space. I think that's what you want it to do, because where I see a bit of a juxtaposition is people at certain ages or different things. From my traditional thing was, I'll come to the office, right? I like it. That's what normal to do. And that used to be the segmentation of work. But for new generations coming through, they've never experienced that. They may have, started even with their university online. So for
Yeah.
them, it is like, why would they come together? Where
Yeah.
would it be? So it is that positioning, which I think is absolutely key. And if you look at the global scheme, which country or which region is probably the most far ahead in terms of design or workplace design?
Well, I'd say America and Australia really. They've got all of this research tools and machineries and equipments ready to support this type of workspaces. And they've already showed us that it's possible to do a remote, to do a hybrid, to do a fully in the office while also respecting your personal activities. They've already established this. So if any country that's ahead of the game, it's for sure America and Australia.
Well, having lived in Australia for many times, I can remember the first open plan offices where people actually was hot desking and the confusion it
Yeah.
was. And that was, yeah, 10, 15 years ago. Man, it's longer than that,
Yeah.
20 years ago. So it's going
Yeah.
forward. So if you're a company out there and they want to reach out to you and get your advice, how do they contact you?
Well, I'm on LinkedIn. It's Charisse Gail Bantiling, and I also have a website. You can go to studio-id.com, and all of the contact details are in there.
Okay, fantastic. And Charisse, one bit more of a personal piece of advice. If you're at home and you want to do your own office, right, and you're going to start with a design, what would the advice be to people that want to have a good workspace in their home?
Well, number one, find a space that's quiet,
Yeah.
away
You haven't been
from
to my house. It's virtually
other
impossible to be children.
distractions. 'Cause we've seen all these videos on news where they do their work and the kids are behind, or you can hear the sound of cooking, bowls, plates, people eating, chatting. So find a space where you can do that. If not, make sure you have facilities that allow for you or equipment that allow for you to control the noise. It's really the noise. Noise is a massive factor in work. So I always make it a point in our design that we really emphasize acoustics. So for homes, I'd say find a good spot, no distractions. If you don't have that opportunity, make sure you have equipments or furnishings that would blur out the noise and support your work.
And what about the color of the room, or is there any particular chairs you should be buying? Should they have a stand-up desk? What do you think?
Definitely invest on ergonomic furnishings. So there's a lot of new technology and furnishings now, especially for chairs and tables. We all know now the sit and stand. It's especially in Philippines, it's now affordable. It used to be very expensive, but now it's easily accessible for Filipinos. We've got ergonomic chairs readily available in the market. Invest on that. In terms of colors, just go on neutral palettes. If you see a color every day, for months and years, you'll get sick of it. If you see something neutral, it just relaxes you and changes the mood quite easily.
So neutral colours will make you relax. Advice to the leaders of the world, make sure that your design is actually aligned to your culture and the outcomes that you want. It doesn't matter how good the space is. If you haven't probably got the communication or the direction in the business, it's not going to make you achieve
Correct.
results. I think also asking the people in your team what kind of work environment they want to work in is always a good one
Yeah.
as well, right? Is
Massive.
it remote?
Listen.
Is it
Yeah.
not? Yeah.
Agree.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for joining us today, Charisse. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on Work Right with Rich. It's always a pleasure to speak to you, and I can't wait to see you again in Manila, and we'll catch up again soon. But I'm sure all the leaders out there will be really enjoy this and the insights that you've given about the workspaces of now and in the future. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Richard.
Thank you.